Categorical perspective. It's making a small incremental change to a simple acoustic stimuli that leads to gradual changes in people's perception of these stimuli. Speech sounds are not perceived this way. Listeners identify sounds as changing abruptly from one consonant to the other. Listeners appear to be incapable of hearing that much of anything that was different than two sounds that were labeled as the same consonant. The categorical perspective is the phenomenon by which the discrimination of items is no better than the ability to label items, and there's three categories to the definition. There's sharp labeling, discontinuous discrimination performance, and prediction of discrimination performance from labeling data. Listeners report hearing differences between sounds only when those differences would result in different labels for the sounds. Speech and significance. Researchers suspect that humans have evolved special mechanisms just for perceiving speech. Motor theory of speech perception. Processes used to produce speech sounds can somehow run in reverse to understand the acoustic speech signal. There's problems with the theory, and some of them are: speech production is at least as complex as speech perception, if not more so. Every aspect of the acoustic signal relates to a particular aspect of the vocal tract. Complex acoustic signals must result from complexity in production. Demonstrations show that non-human animals can learn how to respond to speech signals in much of the same way that human listeners do. The categorical perception is not at all limited to speech sounds, musical intervals, familiar objects and animals, human faces, facial expressions. Co-articulation and spectral contrast. Contemporary research has tuned increasingly to investigate how speech perception is explained by general ways that hearing and perception are broadly work. Spectral contrasts help listeners perceive speech despite the lack of acoustic invariance due to the co-articulation. Using multiple acoustic cues. To the extent that perception depends heavily on experience, speech is special because humans have evolved unique anatomical machinery for producing it. We spend a great deal of time practicing the perception of speech, and listeners can make use of multiple acoustic differences to understand it.